Hey guys, welcome to another voiceover. So this time I'm going to be working on a male character since I actually wanted to make a little otome focus comic, but I ran out of time and the project I have in mind is quite big, so I have to push it towards next month. So for now, I will just do a single character for the ladies, and this character is Sampo from Star Rail. Star, it's the new Genshin Impact. It's from the same maker. Yes, Star Rail. Yeah, I got it. Honkai Star Rail. So this character, he is quite interesting, and I kind of like him the most right now out of all the male characters. And um, so yeah, I decided to do a little tribute for him and did some mock dialogue for him. I already have a rough sketch going, so we can just line that and color it. And I will show you guys the process. So this was the first sketch pass that I have. As you can see, just a rough idea of what I have in mind, and then slowly I try to flesh out the details. And of course I needed reference for him. So here we go. This is the reference from the wiki, and this is the 3D model from the Chinese 3D model website where the Honkai upload their models. And that website is called aplaybox.com. One word. So, yep. Alright, let's get started. So, at this phase, it's it's still kind of sketchy, but it's more or less um, solidified. So now what I've been doing for line art is I would create a group for line art, and I start with the hair and face on separate layers for the lines, because later on sometimes I want to move the body parts around, so I have to have them on separate layers. And also I remember I said that Photoshop's line art isn't as good as Paint Tool Size, the other program I showed you guys in the previous voiceover, but I totally forgot that Photoshop had sharp dynamics, which is the same as pen pressure. Usually when I paint, I do not have this on. That's why it kind of didn't cross my mind at that time. But I remember if you have this selected, um, this will allow you to have a lot more pressure. And I think that with this pressure, even though it's not as good as Paint Tool Sai, you can make some pretty good line art with it. And I have been kind of, experimenting with that. So, um, yeah, it's a lot of new stuff I have to get used to doing, like line art based art. But with line art, it is definitely less time consuming than fully rendered pieces. Um, and I think that if I can, get better at it, maybe if I can develop my style a little bit more, it's going to be better for me in the long run, because I kind of want to start doing my own comic at some point. So right now I am getting as much practice in as I can. So now for line art, I will use the base that I have done on the bottom, but at the same time I'm looking at the references and I'm thinking like, what can I add to make the line art better? So this is the classic way of doing line art. I've seen few other ways by other artists, how they do it, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm looking forward to testing it out at one point. But usually, I would, work on a few pieces before I start doing a voiceover. So this is this voiceovers after I've used this method I am showing you guys already a few times. So hopefully I can find some other interesting ways of doing lines. And I'm always envious of artists that can work with lines so effortlessly. I think I'm still missing something, not quite sure. But I've been, observing a lot of things like I'll watch anime and sometimes for their opening sequence, they have some really nice animation and I take a look at, how they render, how they animate and sometimes it gives me idea on how, the animation industry does their line art. Cause yeah, some of the animation look like fully rendered. Well, not fully rendered, but rendered for line art standard, and I've been just looking at that and trying to see, maybe I can add some of that technique if it works well for me. And I'm still kind of discovering different styles. Like I think it's good to have a flexible range of style. Like maybe I can aim for anime slash comic style, and depending on the character, I can go either way. Okay, now I'm like looking at the hair and trying to make some comparisons to make sure that the positioning for the hair is more or less same as the reference, because um, I find it's a lot better if we can make the line art as accurate as possible, because then later on I don't have to go through it and change it around and move parts. That's what I don't want, and before I used to paint I didn't need to worry about this. But now I have to worry about it. So there's a noticeable bump in the back. I have to make sure that part is a bit more obvious. So as you can see, Photoshop's doing a pretty good job with making my lines more or less straight-ish. Um, it's just a different workflow. I have to try my best to do things in one stroke. Yeah, it's good practice, I guess. And he has a lot of hair sticking out on the side, so I have to make sure to capture that. And then it goes down a little bit. Oh, hold on. Okay, I think the hair should be good, but I think I'm missing some over here. I might have to move the hair around a bit. Maybe move it a little bit closer. Create, okay. And also I have to name it hair. Create a new layer. This is gonna be my face line layer, and I'm gonna try my best to give him a nice defined jawline. Maybe I will make the lines a little thicker this time this time around. So I press a little bit harder on my pen to make the pressure be a bit higher. Let's go ahead, sketch out a rough position for the ears. The good thing about doing this on separate layer is that sometimes I have to adjust the positioning for the face. So I would make a face layer and then I'll make an eyes layer so I can play around with the eyes. So he has pretty distinct eye shape. So his facial feature is pretty unique and I would say stand out amongst the other male characters, which is why I also like his facial design quite a bit. He's an interesting character. He reminds me of uh, Hisoka. Well, not as crazy, but just a little bit of that, like, you don't know if he's crazy vibes. And I'm following the general shape for his eyes. I can try to smudge out the corner. And then his nose, I'm going to give him that anime nose. And I'll just add more detail later on. And then he's got that mouth shape. I'm going to see if I can keep it kind of more stylized, like anime, for the face at least. And I might end up, you know, rendering his body a bit more. I have to... What am I missing? His eyes, for me... Okay, I think I'm missing like that top angle for his eyelid, maybe? Because it felt like the shape of his eyes was a little bit off the way I had it. And this is something I think I need to get used to once again because this is not painting. This is line art, and with line art, small details like this is pretty important. I guess I'm just still trying to figure it out, you know? So I'm just gonna copy his eyes and rotate it onto the other side. It looks kind of off. I'll just make it slightly bigger. Okay, now I must flip. Flip it. Hold on. I'm gonna... Let's see. I'm just trying to remember how I used to draw noses when I used to do line art. I used to um, work with line art quite a bit before I started painting, so I'm just digging through that memory. But it's been, I think, since my college days. I haven't done line art like this since college, and that's like, what, maybe like 13 years? Oh no, wait, 15 years ago. It's been quite a bit. But I guess you're never too late to re-explore your past art style. I also think the eyes needs more personality. I've also trying to um, give more expression to my characters when I paint. Especially for comics, you know, we have to make sure the characters are very expressive, especially in the hentai, right? So I've been working on that Let's add a bit more shadow underneath his eyes because he seems to have a bit of shadow under his eyes. I can also experiment with how far the eyebrows can go. If I move it a bit higher, it might help with his expression. Might have to work on the lips a little later. Let's reset. Okay, I think I need to work on his hair a bit. Also, I have to be a little bit extra picky with stuff like that. Okay. I might need to bring this in a bit more. He has a nice suave haircut that peaks around here and then it goes downward. So maybe I just need to give him a bit more transition downward. Okay. I'm gonna put a mask here so I can remove some of the lines with the mask. In case I'm just testing out. I don't do enough pretty boy haircuts to be efficient, so I'm taking extra time with it. Okay, let's just go with that for now. Eyes here. Create a new layer for the body. So I'm gonna aim for the proportion that I see on the character. He's got like a big body, thick neck, and all that. Probably a lot beefier than most Genshin male characters. So this is a modified version of his... Oh, you see that squiggliness? That's my hand shaking. I still have that. My line quality, sadly, is not very straight. It's very squiggly. Squigglies. I wanted to show off his nipple a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe later. I think there is a program that automatically smooth your lines for you. I'm still not sure which one it is. Um, might be Clip Art Studio or Procreate. I'm not sure which one it is. But I know there's one out there that can do that. So maybe I'll try to find it, test it out. Oh yes, I have to also keep in mind to work on the weight of my lines so that some lines I have to make a little thicker than other lines. For example, the lines that contours the character or like an accessory they wear should be probably a little thicker than like let's say the fold of clothing. So maybe I make his shoulder silhouette a little bit thicker and then his clothing and armpit detail a little less prominent. Squigglies. I'll rotate it so that I can be with my most comfortable angle when I do lines. Reset rotation. Then add some definition line. And then I'll give him a little glove. Although probably not too detailed. Okay. This glove he's wearing is pretty long. So I'll just extend the glove a bit. Clean that up. I'll just try to add some more definition to the gloves / his fingers. It's a little bit difficult. Okay, let's rotate. Maybe the more I do line art, the better I'll get. Still not used to it very much, and I think I'm kind of slow at some parts, especially the hands. There goes another finger. Last but not least, pinky. The idea is have him do like a little rar with his hands. So that is the thought behind this. Probably need a bit more volume here. Actually, might need to make it a bit more angular. Rotate it, and then I'm going to extend the glove. Alright, this is a bit messy, but I think it's not too bad. At least it's not a super important part of the character. Let's go here now. Zoom in a bit. Zoom in a bit. Let's have a look. See here. Okay, this looks like pretzel. It is not pretzel. But his, this metallic decor on him. Okay. It's a little bit easier now that I zoomed in, so that's good. Ah. Well, it's not as well as I hope as I'd hope, but um I'm going to guess I could just try to add those details that I see there. Although I tried to do like a bit more simplified version because this outfit is it's got a lot going on. Let's do a little mock detail right here. I don't know what I'm doing, but oh wait, what did I have in mind? Oh yeah, I wanted there to be like a buckle here or something. So I'll do that, and then this. It's, okay, and I'll end it here, and then add the secondary fabric, which is the gray fabric. So there's gonna be the leather part, this part, the super modified version of his outfit. Alright. Let's see here. Let's do it like this. So this part is gonna be leather. Leather, and then we have the belt. The belt is pretty thick. Looks like just any normal belt across like this. Or might need to be curved up a bit more. And then this fabric, the gray fabric. Let's line some wrinkles. I'm going to roughly line his buckle. it's gonna be a bit messier since I didn't really have a very clear guide for it. I didn't sketch it out beforehand, so okay, let's go with this. Ooh. I think the belt is not as big as the original design. It's not as exaggerated. Hopefully this will be able to be enough. Let's go ahead and flip so I can keep an eye on my lines, making sure that they are on target and not too awkward. I wanted to make his wrist a bit more bulky. I wonder if I can make his finger a bit thicker as well. Making his hand a little bigger. The rest of the fabric. Let's just bring this up. And this is his waist. Let's add some rib detail plus waist hip detail there. The other side. And then we have the other part of his shirt. So this is gonna be skin and this is the shirt. I thought his outfit was a little sexy because of it. It's some coverage they have on him. But it's all good. And there's another belt. I have to take a closer look at his outfit while I'm doing this. Let's bring this part up. Maybe this part needs to go up a bit more. And that's just gonna be belt and pants. I'll add a little buckle for him. And the belt tip. Just have to get that belt right. Okay. I guess I couldn't complete it fully. Outline for his pants. Okay, he's got some special pants design. There's a little holster on the side here. And then this part is just a normal pant pocket. Some seam detail. And then create a new layer real quick, just so I can do a rough guide of the other belt on him. I sketched it out previously, so let's just do that. Oh, well, good thing is in Photoshop we can cheat a bit. So I can just adjust the line. I'm going to flip once again. Once flipped, I will just adjust it. And then let's see, two studs here and then one here. I can also add some additional detail that I don't see. Okay. Let me lower the opacity for that. Go back to the body, and I'm just going to basically erase on whatever's underneath. Okay, let's have a look. Everything looks okay. Merge down. Let's go to the hair. I'm going to adjust the angle of this. I might have to lower the hair on this side here. Trying to match the reference a bit better. Let me thicken up some of the lines here. And this part right here, I will move it a little bit closer to the edge. And I'll just move it a little bit like that, kind of trying to match the direction of the reference. Oh gosh, it is getting messy. I'm gonna take the head group and then I'll adjust it a bit against the body, so I'll make the head smaller. Since he does have a pretty big body and his head is smaller compared, so I'm just making the adjustment. Let's go back to the neck. Clean up the lines a bit. At this point, I think I'll just leave it a little bit rough. The lines, I mean, it's not the most clean line art. Definitely not. I want to fix the curvature of how the cloth is wrapped around his shoulder here. Let's experiment. Let's test out that cut. Maybe if I drag that cut over. Oh, actually, yeah, it's cut pretty tightly against his neck. So let's try this, and then if I do that, that means I can indicate just a bit of his shoulder blade. I can add a slight bit of anatomical detail. Something like that. Also, I've been thinking I should probably repurchase a sketchbook. I have not had a sketchbook in a while. It's never a bad idea to touch up on anatomy or whatnot. So I might do that. And also I wanted to pick up another anatomy book. I think it's time to brush up on that. Because I have been neglecting that. With painting, you can hide a lot of stuff, including anatomy. It's different when you have to um, line anatomy than when you paint it. When you paint, you can pop on a reference and just copy the lighting, which is usually what I do. I use a lot of reference, but it's time to hit the books again for me. Okay, I'm going to paint the hand on a separate layer first. I'm looking at him and I think that maybe his head needs to be smaller. Just look how thick he is. Okay, yeah, I think this should be good. He has pretty thick arms too. Also, I'm taking another look at his eyes and I want to redo the shape as well. Oh, actually, hold on. I just noticed his eye shape. There's a slight slope right here. Let's go ahead and make the change. Sometimes I just don't notice these things. Okay, I think that's a bit more accurate to his eye shape. He's got a little ear cuff here. He doesn't really have earring on the other ear though. Let's see if I can bring up his lower lid. I think that looks a little better. Alright, time to work on the other hand. So for the other hand, I will create a new layer first, and then before that, I've been doing this recently when it comes to a specific part that I need to resketch. So I'll just pick a lighter color and I will um, think about the anatomy and try to make it as clear as possible. And I want to have him kind of have his arm reached out towards the audience, so I'll just try to sketch his finger out that way. And also I have to think about like this finger is the longest after this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, I must count the fingers. I have a sometimes, I've done like 6 fingers or 4 fingers before, so ever since those mistakes, I've been counting them fingers. Okay, now that I have his hand sketched out, I'm going to see like, is there any other good positioning for it? If so, then I will sketch out the position correction. Okay, maybe I need to bring it down a bit. And then have the arm connect that way. Maybe bring it down a bit more. I do want to have his hand a bit closer though. Maybe I can just leave it somewhat like that. Although he does have like a bracelet around his arm, so I'll just have a closer look at it. Oh gosh, it looks a little bit complicated. I kind of don't want to do that. So his bracelet goes around his arm like this. Maybe bring it up a bit more. I guess I won't. I just tried it out. Let me flip him. Just checking up on that line art. Okay, I guess we could go with just this. Okay, so let's go with this then. So after I sketch out the hand I'm gonna remove the line art underneath, lower the new sketch, the new rough sketch that I'm going to line. I'm going to go ahead and erase parts of his arm that's already there, create a new layer. Time to line. Was it? Okay. Find the size. Find a good size. And then I'll just try my best to keep it clean. And then at the same time, I'll try to also add some details that might have been missed maybe. Or add some seam detail to the gloves maybe. So I think these small kinds of detail can needs a lot of practice because you have to get used to it and you have to have already a decent library of like like what small line detail should go where already in your head, and that just comes with practice, really. So yeah, hopefully I can get better so that I can do this a lot faster. And then also on top of that, I'm gonna hit that anatomy book again. So with that in mind, I'm hoping that my male characters and also female characters will have better anatomy. Cause yep, it's kind of fun though. Definitely recommend to have a anatomy book, at least one of them that you can like flip through every now and then. It's always better to have that as a guide. Alright, this is my attempt at a hand. So very not used to this. Let's have a look. So let me remove that. Oh, he looks cute. Let's rotate once again. Well, hopefully I won't have to move his body parts around too much after I start coloring. That's when all the mistakes come out. Once you start putting the colors, you can sometimes, you can notice the line errors. That's usually when I notice the mistakes I've made. Okay, I think I'm okay with the hand for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this finger being the longest. Let's make it a little bigger. That's just some constant thought that has to be kept in mind. And it's even more so once you start doing line art. I guess I'm not used to it yet, but let me know if you guys feel the same way. Like with line art, you have to keep in mind so much more stuff. Alright, that should do it. His face is a little messy, but it should be okay. I could probably reline the hair, but it's gonna take too long. Alright, so I'm on the eyes a layer, and what I'll do is I'm gonna make a mask, and I'm going to sort of mask slightly the parts of his eyes that's covered by the hair, like this. Yeah, I think his eye shape is a lot better. Could be improved, I think. I, if I'm really picky, I can move this up a bit. So I make the slope right here a bit more obvious. Okay, let's go with that. And then the rest of him looks okay for now. So what happens now is I'm going to remove all the parts I don't need. Reference, remove it for now. Let's go ahead. Actually, before that, let me attempt to make the lines a bit better. So go back to the hair, and I'll just align the outer part of his hair. And maybe some parts where I think overlaps other part of his hair. Just having that thicker line on the outer edge. Still not too sure what I'm gonna do with it, but I just try it out. I do have the tendency, I know this, to kind of, even though I try my best to get better at line art, for some reason I always end up not making it the focus. That's probably because my line quality isn't up to where I want it to be, so I try to hide it. Uh, but yeah, it's just something that I need to get used to. I'd say that everybody can get better at it or get better at whatever they're trying to improve on as long as they put some time and effort into it. So it's not hopeless. It does take time and effort though. Let's pop back on the reference. Also, I have to be a bit more observant too, especially with like how how some of the hair is angled. Mm, maybe I don't need this part to be too much. Let's bring this here. I'm just looking at the reference. This part, angle it inward. I think I got the hair a lot better now. This strand might need to be angled ever so slightly outwards. Actually I shouldn't have these strands. Okay, that one's fine. Alright, next up is the body. Okay, I'm just going through the silhouette and making the outer edge a bit thicker. Most of it is already a good thickness. Oh, I'm going to line his hip area a bit more. There's a lot of dots. Next up, this part. I'm just hoping that if my line quality is good enough, then the coloring phase should be easier. If only I can make the lines the focus. Alright, I think that should do it. Yeah, the line quality is a lot better now. So once I put some weights on certain parts of him, it's starting to look not as weak, the lines I mean. So now I just copy the whole group and make the lines be all merged together so that I can do the next thing, which I'm going to fill in his whole silhouette all at once. And for me to be able to do that, I have to make sure that the lines are all closed, meaning there's no gap. So there's a gap here, I will just fix it. There's a little gap there, and then I'll just follow along, making sure there's no gaps on the silhouette. It's okay if there's gap on the inside of his silhouette, just not on the outside. Alright, so I think I fixed most of the gaps. Only one way to find out is just to select the outer edge. So we want to make sure that the selection contours him, and then in addition to that, I will also go in and fix some of the selection, especially when there's like little areas like that popping out due to the lines and stuff, which is fine. So I'll just go ahead and fix that up. There's a little random selection here, fix that up, fix this up. There's a little gap here, fix that up, fix this up, this up. Alright, everything's good to go. So now comes the thing selection, modify, expand. Let's do 3 pixels. The reason why I do this is I want to make the selection closer to the line, so I use that, and then I will hit inverse. Once we hit that, I'm going to create a new group called color, and this is where I'm going to have the color for him. I'm going to start off by blocking it in with a gray color, delete the liner I just did, and then we're going to go with the original group with all the lines in separate layers. So now I have him all lined and then color base ready to go. So now I just have to find the background, which I'm going to be looking for a in-game screenshot for the background, and I'm going to implement it behind him. Alright, so I found a screenshot of the environment from the game. So this is it, and I'm gonna use it as the background. I tried a couple, but this one seems to be the better one out of the two. So first I might adjust the colors a bit actually. Or maybe I should keep it colorful. But just in case, I'm gonna duplicate this in case I want to go back to the original, and then I'm gonna apply a blur to it. So I want the background to be blurred while having the foreground a little bit sharper. Let's turn up the blur. And then I can also experiment with this function, which allows me to get some interesting light effect, which I kind of dig. Press OK. So this way I can use a screen grab or a in-game shot, but have it so that it's not very, it's not like I grabbed it and plopped it on. Just applying a bit of blur allows me to remove some of the details, and also it's going to be good for the character, so it's going to give a bit of that camera focus effect, hopefully. So I'm just waiting for the blur to finish processing here. There we go. Alright. So now that the background's all ready to go, let's do another step. Go back to color, and typically I like to I like to see if I can find some good color reference for the actual character. And then, uh, okay, this one's not too bad. This one's nice. I like the colors. Let's see if we can use this. Put it here. Remove the dialogue for now. So now that I have a color reference, I can use it. I'm gonna do the skin first, so I'm just gonna go right ahead and borrow the color from there, and then I'll just apply it. Oh, don't forget to lock it. I forgot to lock it. Lock it down. Oh, actually, actually, you know what? I think what I'll do is I'm going to use the lasso tool first. I'm gonna go ahead and basically select the shadow. Okay. Select the areas where I think shadow will be. Okay, let's go with that. And then next, get a bit of shadow near that pec muscle. And then I will apply a filter. Let's go with brightness and contrast. Constrain down by pressing Alt. I'm just gonna go ahead and add that in. So after I do that, since this is a filter, I can, not a filter, sorry. Yes, it is a filter, but it is considered an effect on a separate layer. I can easily remove or add onto it. And on top of that, I can even create a new layer underneath, and then let's say we give him a bit of variation in tone. So just give him a little bit of a blush tone. So by having this as an effect, the effect will apply to all the other layers that's underneath. So I have been using this method, and I think it can be very helpful. I think I need to work on it. So this is going to be the skin layer, and next I'll have the leather part, or I'll just select his whole outfit. Next part is his outfit layer, his top outfit, that is. I'm gonna go ahead, it's a little tedious, but using the lasso tool, I will select all of his clothing area. It's definitely a very different process from just going about purely painting everything. The parts where you spend the most time on is different with a line art compared to painting. I must be careful with selecting the clothing element, the clothing part. Oh yes, this part as well. I think I will also have the gloves included in the top layer, his clothing layer. So I will go ahead and select them. Okay, that one's selected. This part also needs to be selected. There we go. So now that I've selected all, I'll just hit Control C to copy, paste on top, and then I will quickly fill it in with a, let's go with this color, I guess, or this color. After I do that, I do end up noticing that there are parts that I missed, so I'll just go back and fill those in manually with the brush. I'm thinking if I can start off as clean as possible, if I'm careful with the lines and blocking it in and stuff like that, maybe the end result will look a lot better as well. Block it in. I'm also experimenting with the ideas that I would render the clothing out a bit more detailed compared to the skin tone. So there's also that type of thing. Just overall thinking about that and like what I can do to be happy with the end result. I'm going to go ahead and block in the gray part of his clothing, which is the part that's underneath these parts. Oh, block it in. His gloves should be okay. Shirts. I'm gonna go ahead and do his pants. Which I think I can just go ahead and select it normally. I'll name it pants. And then I'll block it in. Let's go with this color. Actually, maybe I won't have it that colorful. Let's turn down the saturation. go back to the shirt. Going back to fix some of these pixels that's sticking out. Okay, the pants are done. Next up is these belts. Actually, I missed this part. Pants. Now, belt time. So once again, I'll just go ahead and select the belt. There we go. Okay. Copy and paste. Name it belt. Lock it in. It's basically a dark color, so that will have to do. Merge down. Okay. I'll just block it in and make sure that it covers most of the small spaces that it might have missed. Done. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and do the hair. So I'll just select the hair. Just go slowly. This part's gonna take a little bit of time. Get all that hairline. Down here too. Copy, paste. Let's go with this space. There we go. Already a lot better. Let me go back into the skin. I'm just going to add the base color for his eyes and all that. Oh, okay. That's not bad. Alright, let's zoom out real quick. This is with a quick base. Going back to the shadow. I'm just going to go ahead and blur some of these areas. Okay. merge down. And then let's go to the lines. Line art. Face. Let's go with a dark brown for his line art color for his face. Actually, I might have to test it out a few times. What shade is good? Do I need to put in multiply? Multiply, lock it in. Body, lock, multiply, and I'll just make the lines that's connected with the skin this warm brown color. It just helps with the look of it. And I guess I'm gonna keep the shading simple for now and then add an overall shadow later on. Let's go with the shirt. Do a quick rendering for it. Let's grab some of that color from the reference here. It's good to borrow some of that color. Going for a leathery look. Oh, actually, this part is supposed to be gray. Back to this. I'm going to block in this silver part of his jacket. Oh, shoot. Oh, I need it to be on a separate layer. I'll just call this silver, and I'll call this gray. I could probably make his shirt a bit shinier. Have a bit more shine towards this area. Let's add some shadow here. I'm keeping the shading a bit flat on purpose. I would like to add an overall shadow later on to all the layers all at once. So for now, it's gonna be like a flat shading look. But I think we could still have some nice details. Going to the silver. Oh, actually, no, not silver, gray for this part. I'm gonna see if I can sculpt out a bit of ab definition. Oh, what's... Okay, here we go. I'm missing this part here. Now I can paint properly. I'm trying to contour his abs, if I can even do that. That is not sure. I guess we'll see. Go back to the skin. Let's go with this color for shadow. Keeping the shading simple, or I guess simple compared to what I usually do. The end goal is to add the general shadow highlight later. So I have to hold it off, and this is very tempting for me to go overboard with the shading, but I must resist the urge. Let's add a tiny bit of shadow towards the top. I still have to keep in mind some of the anatomy details, so I'm just recalling a bit of my past knowledge. Add a bit of shadow here. I'm keeping it not too saturated. I'll just keep it nice and light. Add a bit more shadow towards underneath his neck. Hmm. Might need to just add some of the highlight back into his neck. It was not looking too great. I also have to keep an eye on the small preview. Sometimes, you know, especially with more simplified shading, I have to keep an extra eye out for awkwardness with the shading. I kind of want to kind of make this whole area a little darker. So I'll go ahead and no, let's go for the classic brightness contrast. Oh wait, nope. Let's go back to hue saturation. There. Safe. Alright, what's next? Oh yeah, I was working on the gray shirt. Okay, let's continue to clean that up. So I'll just go over some of the areas where I see color popping out of the line and I'm trying to correct it. Silver, let's go ahead and do the same thing. Lock it in. And gonna use that as a guide. I'll just give it some rough highlight slash shadow enough to get the main design across. Back to the shirt. Okay, the shirt, the leather part. Um, let's give it some seam detail. Yeah, that's it. Seam detail. I'm still trying not to add too much shadow slash highlight to make it too 3D. But it's kind of hard holding that off. So the plan is to add um, the shadow slash highlight to accentuate it after I give everything else a quick render, a flat rendering. Okay. Let's go gray. Could probably, you know what? You know what I will do? I'm going to, let's try this. I'll apply a quick layer of color on Photoshop, and then I'm going to bring this into Paint Tool Sci for extra bit of blending. Paint Tool Sci is good for fast blending, although the rendering style will turn up a little bit more painterly than more refined, since a lot of their brushes are very blendy. There's such a thing as too blended. I mean, too blendy. Yes, too blendy, so you will see the brushstrokes and all that. And, you know, it's got its own charms. Photoshop is quite good with very solid, very smooth rendered out look. Uh, it can also have a more painterly traditional look with the use of brushes, although I'm not super knowledgeable on that because I've been just using the solid round brush most of the time. Although Paint Tool Sci has allowed me to kind of explore that painterly side. Alright, next up is, let's do the belt. So here's the reference for the belt. Alright, it's basically very similar color to this, so I will go ahead and give it a little shine here. And also follow through on that highlight. Grab a bit of that. Oh, actually, you know what? I should be making a new layer for this, for the metallic parts of the belt, just to make it a little easier for me to work on. So previously, when I first started to use line art again, what I would do is just basically paint all the colors in one single layer. It makes things a lot faster, but it is a little bit messy in terms of process. But it's whatever you're more used to. And so I've been basically trying a bunch of stuff with line art. All different, a little bit of a different method here and there. And I might have to also take a look at some of the artists that's more specialized in line art and see how they do it and maybe kind of learn from them as well. Um, but yeah, there's probably stuff I don't know about that could make my style a lot better, so I should probably do some more research. Alright, let's go ahead and add some basic shading for the buckle, and the buckle is quite shiny, so I'm gonna up the highlight for it. I think this will do just fine. It's a bit rough. Let's go back to shirt, and we're gonna work on the glove. So as far as I can see, his gloves are black with a bit of that wine reddish color. So let's go ahead and do that. Simple enough. And I'm going to refer back to the color from the in-game model because I'm gonna try to reference it as close as I can before having to start putting in some more highlight and stuff that's gonna affect the color for sure. But to start, I'm gonna try to get as close as possible to that, to the original color. And sometimes I just don't use color references, but in this case I'll use it. Once in a while is not too bad. Alright, so rough shading done. Next up is this glove right here. Adding some highlight based on the light source, which is in general coming from the left side. There we go. Definitely need a bit more contrast. And also need a bit more filling in some of these areas. There's some, it seems like some missing pixels. Okay. That's done. Let's go ahead and do... might have to add some of this color because it is a bit of his theme, so I'm gonna quickly add a stripe right here without the lines. What else? Okay. Okay, I'll have it there. I'll just add it in that one area for now. Great. Next up, pants. I'll just go ahead, add some basic shading for it. Next up is selecting the belt parts. Selecting the belt part so that it can be on its own layer within the pants layer. Copy and then lock. Fill that in. This is gonna be the leather texture part. So I'll quickly render it similar to how I did for his top. I don't think he has a buckle per se, but it couldn't hurt to add a metallic part. Next up, hair. I will try to replicate the rendering style of the actual model. There doesn't seem to be too much shadow per se, but we have to emphasize some of the hair strand to make it feel like it's layered on top and stuff. Looking at the rendering style and replicating it on mine. So I try to get as close as I can to it, and then afterwards I usually tend to change it up depending on how the shadow and highlight goes. The main layer of highlight slash shadow I'm gonna add later on. This is a flat-ish rendering of the hair compared to what I'm used to. I like to make things a bit more 3D, but okay. But I must hold back for that glorious application of highlight and shadow after. Okay, so that's done. Let's borrow some of the colors. It's more blue. I just want to see, how would it look if I added a bit of blue in that purple? Okay, well, let's go with that for now. I think I do want to add a bit more shadow underneath, but I'll have to do that later. Let me make his hair lean a bit more blue, like that, and I need to increase the brightness of the hair highlight right here that I see, although it's not applied everywhere, just to the top portion of his hair, so I will try to replicate that. Okay. The hair is decently not really rendered out too much, but it's decently acceptable. Not acceptable for me, but I guess there's a process to everything, and this is not my usual process. But, we can't hope to change anything if we don't change up the process. What if I put the shadow for his nose this side? It makes his face a little flatter. Maybe this is gonna help me get out of my comfort zone. You know what? This reminds me of how I used to render faces before I started painting. Should I give a little bit of a lower lip? They don't really have too much lip. Might have to kind of edit the mouth a little later too. This definitely reminds me of my old style. I remember pretty similar. I need to find a picture to show you guys what I'm talking about. Oh shit, guys, I forgot to resume rendering, so I don't know how much I missed, but yeah, this is what happened. I worked on the face for a bit, so this is the new changes. I'm gonna grab this color and put it on color and reapply it on the face. I feel like I kind of washed his face out. I was trying to render it out, but I think I also kind of remove a lot of the colors on his face. This is the lines for his face. I'm gonna keep a backup here, but everything else I will merge down. Safe. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to import this into Paint now. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, I opened it in Paint now. I'm going to go through each layer and I'm going to see what I can do to help the rendering. What is this? Oh yeah, that's the color edit. Alright, so first off, what I'll do is create a new layer. Actually, wait, I won't create a new layer. What I'll do is I'm going to copy the layer. So I'll copy layer. Clip group, which is the same as constraint down in Photoshop. And then let's grab the brush tool. I'm gonna go ahead and let's go with non-bristle, going back to the standard brush shape. I'm gonna go ahead and render it out a little bit in this more painterly style. It just adds a little bit of an extra, definitely adds a little extra personality to the piece. Zoom in. Oh, might be a bit too pink. Let's tone it down. I'm gonna use the lasso tool to help me with keeping that part a little bit sharper. Add some rough shadow, drop down shadow too. Let's go ahead, add some shine to it by basically squishing highlight between two slightly darker colors. Alright, time to work on this side. Let's add a bit more highlight. Down here, I'm going to add another bit of shadow. Gonna use a smaller brush. Okay, back at it. Back to rendering. Using the watercolor to smooth out some of the edges. Although it's a little tricky because there's a fine balance to where you put this brush, because it can end up looking really, really airbrush. I mean, too smooth. Although it does smooth things out really easily. It just depends on where you want to smooth out. It's gonna have different effect depending on the area. Grab a bit of that, bring it up, add a bit more saturation. Let's grab this. So I'll just blend it in with the watercolor. As you can see, it does a really good job at blending everything in. But the key is to not blend everything in, because if we do that, it's gonna look a little bit too smooth. There needs to be a good balance of sharpness and softly blended in areas. So watercolor is kind of like the smudge tool in Photoshop, except you can also add color with it. Okay, I think I rendered out his torso a lot better now. Let's go back to brush. Grab this. I'm going to bring the color to a more of a warm color, warmer tone in the shadow. I will zoom in. Let's go with this color. I'm gonna make the brush smaller. Bring up the highlight. I mean, not the highlight, the shadow around his eyes. Yeah, cause it was getting a little too dark under his eyes, so I made it a lot brighter. Let's go ahead and add a dash of warm tone around his nose. And then around the mouth. Let's flip. Need to push this eye towards that direction so it matches his other eye direction. Add a bit of shine to his lips. Zoom out real quick, see what's going on. Alright, zoom back in now. And let's go back to watercolor, smooth out the rest of his face. If I don't press hard, the watercolor just does the blending effect. But if you press hard, then it's gonna add color like this. But if you don't, it's the perfect blending tool. Zoom out. Okay, I think that fits. I just still need to do something about his eyes, since it's still not how I would like it. Definitely could be better. Okay, needs a little highlight dot right here. Let's zoom in a bit more, and I'm gonna add, see if I can, let's take down the density a bit, add some lashes. Not sure if this is gonna go over well, but once we zoom out, we will be able to tell. Grab this color, bring it over here slightly. Zoom out. Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, let's move on to, okay, so let's do a little before and after. Before, after. It did improve slightly. Let's go to hair now. So I'll just kind of go over each layer and do a little rendering, copy, clip group. Let's go with this function. I'm gonna add some hair texture. And I think Paint Tool is pretty good with hair rendering. Although the rendering you do in Paint Tool is a lot more painterly compared to Photoshop. But I find that I can get rendering done a lot faster with Paint Tool, especially on hair. If you don't care for more realistic rendering, Paint Tool is good for that. Zoom out. Yep. I added some hair texture pretty quickly. Let's copy that or select that, and then I'm gonna add that shine that you see. Go back to the brush. blend it in. And keeping in mind the rest of the original hair composition. Okay, something like that. After that, I'm gonna go into airbrush now, grab a bit of the skin tone. So this is a trick I see done quite a bit in anime theme art, so I will just be borrowing that and using it just to create the more anime look. Like that. We'll do a little before and after. Lower the opacity, merge down. Time for pants. Copy layer, clip group. Let's render the pants out using Paint Osai. Add some wrinkles here. That's okay. That's a relatively decent amount of contrast for a flat, for more of a flat lighting. I have to keep in mind not to go too crazy with the contrast. So I guess this should do it. Let's merge down. Go to the belt. I'll just add some small amount of highlight. Shirt time. Oh, I'm missing some pixels. There we go. Alright, so I guess we'll just go through it. In addition to that, I want to add a slight bit of blue. Oh, oops. I'm going to copy the layer first. Let's continue. I guess... Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and... Oh yeah, I was working on this part, actually. I must press that first, so I'm working on this part now. Lock in the layer first. Oh, there's these options. I haven't tried these. Let's see what they do. Oh wait, okay, I see. So there is different mode for different brushes. Okay, so let's go to brush. Let's try deep. What's deep? Let me use red. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit like multiply. This is multiply and vivid. What's vivid? Vivid, okay. Well, so vivid, I guess, is a little bit similar to the normal mode. Let's use a warmer undertone highlight for the leather. So yeah, I see that the highlight on the game render is going towards the warmer tone as well. Let's give it a try. I'm also trying to um, use several different size brushes for this. Oh, Vivid is a little bit hard to paint with. It does influence the color a bit, so I'll just go back to how I had it before on normal mode. Maybe later on I'll find a different way to utilize different brush modes there, but for now I'll just stick with this. I'm scribbling, seeing if I can create some interesting texture for his clothing, or in general just make the rendering appear a bit more painterly. Size down the brush so I can paint in the small areas. I'll just blend what I have here in. Let's see if we can paint on some creases. Would that even fit? Probably not. Let's redo this area. So I'm gonna go ahead, add shadow. Same for here. I'm gonna add shadow and then I'm gonna have a bit of the warm color, warm highlight inside the shaded area. This is gonna sell that chest volume. Hopefully that's what it's doing. Oh, it's not very visible right now. I guess I'll just keep at it for a bit. Grab a bit of this, smudge it on slightly, not too much. Grab this, bring it to the other side. I'm gonna reselect the shadow color. Emphasize that chest. Zoom out real quick. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's getting there. It's definitely contouring the chest like I want it. Let's grab a bit of this color and then a bit of this skin tone color. Zoom out. Just want to see the progress. Usually it's easier to tell if the image in general is going the direction you want by zooming out. When I'm zoomed in, I can't really tell as well. Okay, that's not too bad. So some of these areas is a bit rough, but I think we can leave it. It adds to the character of this piece. Alright. Before, after. Before, after. March down. Now, I'm gonna see if I can add um, some sort of main highlight. So I selected those areas and I'm going to make them really bright. And then I'm going to use watercolor. Let's try to blend this highlight in with watercolor. I have to erase the rest now. Turn up the density is the same as opacity in Photoshop. I wanna go with more of a yellowish highlight, so I'm gonna create a new layer and put it on. Let's try Dodge. Might be a bit too shiny. Let's tone this down. Or, merge down. I did want it to have some intense highlights, so let's see if I can still keep this somehow. What if I made the... actually, hold on. Can I even keep this? Maybe I'll tone it down a bit. Or try it on different settings. Let's go with that. For now, for now. I'm gonna render out the glove a bit now. Lock in the layer. Need a bit more contrast, so I will use a much darker color, probably more on the cool side. Let's drag it down a little bit more. There we go. Now it's dark enough. And we'll just try our best to blend it in. It looks more painterly now. Let's flip it and continue to blend some of these areas in. Bring this down. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the top knuckle of each finger, where that's where I'm going to add the highlight. maybe I'll have a bit of it on this finger too, and then along this side, and then, oh wait, I missed a finger. So with Paint Tool side, I'm not able to kind of add on to selection. That's why I have to do it one part at a time and just make it brighter. Using the watercolor to sort of smooth some of the border between the highlight and the shadow. Rotate it back. Merge down. Man, I really want to do it to his shirt now too, the method I was doing on the gloves. So I guess I'll just do it real quick just to see how it looks. So again, since I can't add on to the selection, I have to select bit by bit the parts I want to add the highlight to. I'm thinking about it, thinking about where I should select. Maybe a bit here. And I'm gonna follow the lighting on his skin tone. Okay, let's try this. Uh, Flip it. That's not too bad. Now we can go ahead and blend it in, so to speak. Go to the shirt. Adjust the contrast. Let's go with that. I'll just remove some parts of it. Merge down the silver parts. I'm just going to use the lasso tool to help me brighten certain areas, and gonna be a little lazy on that. Let's go back to the glove. This glove, that is. Let's grab the highlight color that we already have on the other glove, and basically I'll just re-add it to this side as well. Let's flip again. I use a smaller brush. I'm gonna see if I can add some just a little bit of highlight in the glove area. Okay, now let's do a general highlight. Copy. And once again, just going to select these part bit by bit, one part at a time, because this is not Photoshop, sadly. Make it brighter. There we go. And then try to smooth it out using the watercolor. Just pressing on those separations very, very gently to blend. Merge down. Alright, now time for the gray part of his outfit. I don't think this part will be too have too much to blend in. Although I do want to emphasize his abs while I'm here. I guess I'll just try to blend it. So let's flip again real quick. Flip that preview. I'm gonna try to sculpt out a bit of the ab. Definitely. Oh, I forgot to lock the layer. Lock. If I don't lock it, it's gonna go outside of the lines. I'll just try to sculpt out a bit more down here too. Make the brush size smaller. Okay. Trying very hard not to add too much contrast to that area. Let's do this, some highlight enhancements. So I'll once again copy certain areas. I'm following along his, where I think his abs are. But here, this part, and then especially where the belt is at, so there's gonna be for sure a protrusion there, so I highlight it a bit. Oh wait, hold on. There. There. Alright. Now time to... Oh, okay, looks like I did not pick up this area. Alright, let's do it now. After I brighten it, I also want to hue saturation. I want to make it a bit more yellow in tone like that. There we go. And rotate. Watercolor. Blend in. Do a little before and after. Let me tone it down a bit. Merge down. Create a new layer so I can put in those patterns. I have to get a better view of it. Alright, couldn't really find a very clear reference for the design, so I'll just have to um, use this as reference. Alright, so let's go ahead and sketch out that motif. And we'll just repeat it on the other side. Oh, is there other stuff underneath? Oh, it's very hard to tell. I think there's some other design on the bottom, but it's not very clear. It could be shading. That's why I'm not sure. Is this shading? Okay, it's shading. Let's redo that. Alright, so this is the base, and then I'll just line it. Zoom in. Use a slightly darker color. Alright, now that I have that done, I'll just reduce the opacity a bit, put it on multiply. Actually, put it back on normal. And I'm going to see if I can just smooth out the inside of the motif. Even out that color. Even out that color, lock it, use airbrush. Adjust the lighting according to whatever's surrounding it. Flip. I need to line this again. It's the border is washed out after I did the blending with the watercolor brush. Alright, let's merge down now. There we go. Let's use the brush again. I'm gonna pick a slightly darker color to add the shadow. Next up, let's see what's next. What's next? I forgot what this is. Okay, that is the strap. I'll just pick a highlight color. There we go. Rotate it. Let's go to the belt part. I'm going to add a bit of shine. Grab this highlight again. I'll just add it to the bottom belt as well. Scribble to blend. Zoom out. Okay, that looks fine. Alright, don't really need to touch up that area. But, oh wait, I did the pants. Let's go add some highlight to the belt though. Go back to the pants. I'll spend some extra time rendering the pants. But the good thing about this program is that even if I don't render it out fully, it still has a nice effect to it. Since in Photoshop, a lot of times I tend to over-render. Well, not over-render, but I like to render it out fully. I just never felt like Photoshop could give that painterly effect that I wanted. And that's only because in the past I've worked with programs like this and I already kind of had um, an idea of what I liked for if I didn't render out fully. That's why Photoshop couldn't really do what I was used to in the past, so I just decided to do super rendered pieces in Photoshop, which later on I liked, but you know, gotta switch it up sometimes. And also this is a lot faster to create if I wanna do storyline slash comics. Fully rendered art is just not the best in terms of efficiency or speed. Alright, let's go to the hair part. I think we did touch upon the hair already, but I think let's try to isolate certain areas so we can add another layer of highlight to the hair. On top here for sure. Oh wait, hold on. Copy, paste, merge down, and then this part of the hair for sure as well, and then this part too, and maybe a little bit from the edge. Okay, now let's test it out. There we go. Now zoom out real quick, have a look. Definitely, I think this is a good amount actually. So now that I've done that, let's go use the not airbrush, sorry, the watercolor tool. It's already looking a lot more of that anime style. A little bit more. Add a bit more shading. Merge down. Actually, before merging down, before and after, it definitely adds a bit more volume, which is good. Okay, let's merge down and then adjust the color. I'm going to give the back here a bit more highlight so it stands out. That works. Alright, now that I rendered or blended him in a bit more. Oh, okay, there we go. Save real quick. Now is the time to do that um, overall shadow highlight. Okay, so first we have to create a new folder, layer folder. In Photoshop, it's a lot easier to do. Actually, it's the same maybe. Once I have the folder, I'm gonna start create a layer, and this is gonna be multiply. Once I have my multiply layer, I'm going to use brush, and then I'm gonna go for let's let's start off with like a cool shadow tone. So let's try this. Put it in oh wait. Let's see here. Pass. There. Will it pass through? Alright, that works. I guess I'll use pencil instead. Pencil is very similar to the standard round brush in Photoshop. So now I'll just do another pass of shadow. Maybe it's not dark enough. Let's go down one. Go down a bit more in terms of darkness, and let's do some experimenting with the shadow. Like maybe we have this whole part, this whole area. Oh gosh. I accidentally pressed my my tablet pencil button. So in the paint tool side, that button is a shortcut for eyedrop tool. I am testing out uh, some shadow ideas, like additional shadow. So this way, you can use this method to stack shadow if you don't think your picture has enough of it, and just do this a few times until you're satisfied. Sometimes I can kind of go overboard, so I also have to be careful. Using the watercolor to quickly blend. I also need to edit certain parts out at the same time while I do this. Might be a bit too dark. I think I will erase a little bit of the shadow underneath his eyes. Okay, let's add some to the ab area. A bit underneath this glove. Actually, what about this whole arm? Okay, maybe that's too much. Let me go ahead and use the erase tool and erase some of that shadow underneath his arm. Go back to the pencil tool. Let's add some shadow underneath the abs. Zoom out, flip, zoom out and flip. Alright, now I'm gonna do a little before and after just to see if it's done anything. Okay, next, let's play around with, oh, whoops. Let's play around with the brightness contrast. So I'm just purely editing the color slash darkness of the shadow layer. This actually gives a lot of options. Like I can play around with these and see if I like maybe slightly brighter shadow. I think the brighter shadow does look better. Maybe just a tad darker. Another thing I can do is I can block in the layer and use the airbrush and manually go adjust the shadow, what's inside it. What's inside of it. I'm gonna pick a brighter warm tone and I'll color the inner part of the shadow. Okay, I think that's better. Toggle on and off. This definitely adds an extra bit of dimension, which I'm looking for, but at the same time, it's not too much. I'm actually going to use a cooler shadow for this part. So I just switch up the color and paint it on. A little bit of before and after once again. We're good to go for that part. I'm gonna create a new layer. Screen is somewhat similar to multiply but the other way around, so we're gonna go ahead and do a little mock highlight now. The highlight, let's go with a bright color, but since this is the other way around, we have to go for a darker color, which on screen mode will brighten up um, whatever's underneath, so it will give something like this. I'll just do, okay, let's bring it up a bit. I'm going to add 2 locations where I think highlight is going to be most likely, or I'm going to focus on the light source of the image. Don't think I need it on the face, but let's put some on the face anyways. It's somewhat it's like adding on highlight to those locations that have already got some highlight. We're just you can say intensifying them a bit. Alright, there we go. Let's flip again. Flip again, add highlight there. Especially on the arm part. Sorry, not the arm, the hand part. There we go. Zoom out now. So let's do a little toggle on and off, before and after. And this way we can see if it did anything good to the piece, which I think it definitely did add a little bit to it. So we're gonna try to keep most of it, just edit certain parts of it out. Which you can do just simply by erasing. Let's go with the watercolor so I can somewhat blend this in. Use the erase tool. There we go. Let's play around with the brightness contrast, see if we can get any interesting results. Okay, I kind of like that. It's a slightly deeper tone, but it does look good. Although the arm, I prefer it to be cooler in tone, so I'll just adjust these 2 areas. Oh, whoops. I don't know what that did. I have to I'll figure it out. Maybe I need to lower the brightness of the gloves. And then for the hair, I'm going to see, maybe it needs to be a bit more subtle. Okay, let's go with that. Alright, so now we can do a little toggle on and off. This is without the extra highlight slash shadow overlay. This is with it, and it does make him look a bit more 3D, which is good. Now that we have all these two done, I'm going to save and then bring this back into Photoshop to merge these two effects to every single layer below. Alright, so I brought it into Photoshop once again. So this is the folder containing the extra edit. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, this is typically what I do, so I'll just copy the folder. It's a little tedious. So I'm going to create a layer constraint down, move these two underneath it so they both apply. And I'm going to go ahead and merge everything down into the layer, delete the folder, duplicate it again, and repeat. So I'm gonna merge everything down into the shirt, create a new layer constraint down, open the group, drag these two effects, drag it underneath, and merge down. And we're just gonna do that for the rest of the layers. Oh, wait, hold on. Come on. There's a lag, that's why. That's why I did that thingy. Copy. Drag. Merge down. Last layer, I have to do that too. Alright, so drag and merge down. So now everything's been applied. And this is what we have. And last but not least, I pop back on the dialog. Usually it makes the piece look a lot better because I get to fill all the empty spaces. And then, let's see. And then I'll go back into the lines. And I can make the lines blend in a little better by just adjusting the color. Let's adjust the color of the lines to somewhat match the general shading and all that. This way I can get things to blend a little better so the line isn't as visible. But then again, sometimes you probably want the lines to be a bit more visible, so I guess I'll have to make it a little bit more visible. Let's try something. Let's duplicate the lines and do a little gloss blur. And then experiment with line effect. Hard mix. Oh, that's an interesting effect. Let's keep trying different layer modes. I remember when I first started, I would put the line on multiply and blur it like this, so it creates this type of effect. Bring that up. So yeah, just a lot of interesting ways to work with line art. Alright, so I guess that's it for this voiceover. And hopefully I get to figure some other technique out by the time I do my next voiceover, which is next month. I've got some interesting ideas in mind. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next voiceover. Have a great day or night, guys. Bye.